I'm Bill Landis, obviously, and I am a teaching and research services librarian here at the Beinecke Library.
And my name's Jessica Pigza. I work at the Arts Library here at Yale. I'm the Associate Director of the Arts Library Special Collections.
Hang on a second, my screen's not advancing. Oh, there we go. Did it advance for you? Okay,
It
great.
did, yes.
So Unfolding Events brings together artist books and historical documents from the collections of the Haas Family Arts Library Special Collections and the Beinecke Rare Book and Manuscript Library. Yale's collections hold more than 10,000 artist books, most of which are in these two libraries. The exhibit has been a rewarding collaboration between Arts Library Special Collections and Beinecke, and the materials in the exhibit are drawn roughly half and half from both collections. The exhibits embody the Yale Library's goal of bringing collections together in the service of education programs of all types.
So I'll just go over a few of the goals that Bill and I had when we were conceiving of this exhibit, and it did have a lot of ties to education here at Yale. We wanted, first and foremost, to introduce new audiences to what artist books are and sort of what they are as a form of art. But we really wanted to highlight the teaching potential within artist books across Yale. One of the ways that we approached it was drawing connections between the primary sources that are in Yale's special collections and artists who draw on that kind of deep research as part of their own creative practice. And we also wanted to position artist books as primary sources themselves that future researchers and scholars can draw on when looking at the times that when these works were created. Next slide. So if you are not yet familiar with what artist books are, you'll get a glimpse of a few examples of them today while we're talking. I will say that artist books are best experienced hands-on in person. So looking at them on a screen or even looking at them in an exhibit gives you partial access to the way that they work. But because artists lean into innovative structures, pop-up features, fold outs, and also because artists who make artist books also go beyond paper often, they'll use fabric and steel and textures and, you know, sort of books that expand or unfold this way. They really are meant to be experienced with your hands in, you know, on the book in front of you. Artists, when they're making artist books, often take into consider what the reader's experience is going to be when they're making the choices about how to build the work that they're going to build. So you'll get to see a few examples of them in their still form today. Next. So the exhibit Unfolding Events is organized into two sections, and that's going to be the structure that we use to talk about it today. The first section, Engaging Historical Moments, features works that are richly imagined and deeply researched, and often they might incorporate or refer to existing historical documents like old photographs, maps, letters. And in this part of the exhibit, each artist book is paired with a related historical source or more than one source that kind of makes really explicit and transparent the value of including artist books in research or learning around particular topics. The second section is called Engaging Personal Perspectives. And in that section, the artist books were selected because of the way that each individual artist reflected on their own personal memories or their own perspectives and their own history. So these volumes enrich the historical record for future readers and scholars, like I said, like a new primary source. And the volumes throughout the exhibit address themes that resonate both in the past and today. So a few of those are on the screen, but they go from, war and safety to incarceration, questions of identity, geography and borders, plagues and pandemics. Did I say belonging already? Belonging is important. So next.
So I'm going to start out with a few examples, 3 examples from the engaging historical moments section of the exhibit, where artist books are paired with topically relevant materials from the Beinecke collections. So in 1959, after years of litigation and in response to the public school desegregation required by the Supreme Court's 1954 Brown v. Board of Education decision, the School Board of Prince Edward County, Virginia, decided to close its schools. The county's public schools remained closed until 1964. White children attended private schools set up by the Prince Edward School Foundation, a private foundation established conveniently in 1959 to ensure a segregated education for white children in the county. Jessica Peterson collaborated with members of the community in Farmville, the county seat, to conduct interviews and collect archival documents and statistical information that led to the production of Unbound, to honor the veterans of the school lockout and the creativity and resilience of the Black community in the county in ensuring the education for their children for over 5 years. In the Unfolding Events exhibit, the book is paired with a transcript of a 1952 U.S. Supreme Court hearing of an appeal of a lower court decision in Davis v. County School Board of Prince Edward County, same county, which was one of the 4 cases eventually combined into the Supreme Court's Brown v. Board of Education decision 2 years later. The Davis case is significant because it was the only one of the original lawsuits that was initiated by a student protest. The transcript is heavily annotated by Richard Kluger, who in 1975 published Simple Justice, a legal history of the cases leading to the Brown v. Board of Education ruling. A second book, Tamar Stone's Upholstered Cage, brings together in the form of a corset advertising touting their health and physical benefits with observations about the pain and disfigurement they caused. The quote on the right-hand page shown here indicates that the average corset exerted 21 pounds of pressure on a woman's internal organs. The book is accompanied in the exhibit by a page from an 1872 issue of the popular women's magazine, Harper's Bazaar, containing information and instructions for making the variety of corsets that a woman of means during this time would have required to be fashionable. And finally, in his History of Light, Daniel Mellis superimposes on his photographs of the wasteland underneath Chicago's Dan Ryan Expressway data from the 1910 U.S. Census, documenting the names and occupations to commemorate families living at that time in the residential buildings that were demolished for this 1957 urban renewal project. Beinecke's collections contain a wealth of sources on the impacts of urban renewal in New Haven and elsewhere, represented here by a 1952 pamphlet showing the area of Manhattan to be impacted by the freeway construction to connect the George Washington Bridge with the Cross Bronx Expressway, the latter begun in 1948. Over to you, Jessica.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm going to talk about 4 more books today. And what I decided to do is to choose pairs. I'm going to talk about 2 works that first I'll talk about 2 works that reflect on climate change and our fraught relationship with the natural world. So I'll start with Julie Chen's Panorama. This is a book from 2008. It's giant. The photograph in the sort of darker photograph in the lower corner is the book Fully Open, which stretches to over 60 inches long. And there are multiple of these elaborate pop-ups in each work, and they focus on different elements about climate change, geology, water, growth, plants. And the topic was chosen, she said, because she wanted to provide both a sense of urgency and a sense of wonder when it came to the beauty and the functionality and health of the natural world. Um, there's this there's this element of play that happens in a lot of Julie Chen's books, and it's definitely at play in Panorama. She is really good at using sort of game board design or interactive charts and things you can flip through and move to explore information and make sense of it visually. And so this book sort of scratches that itch if you are the kind of person who wants to sort of really sort of explore and unpack an artist book. Her works definitely do that generally. So if you ever have a chance to order up a book by Julie Chen in a special collections library, there are lots of them at Yale, a lot of them at the Arts Library and at Beinecke. I recommend her. Next one. So this is the book I've paired it with, and this is a book by a Lebanese artist who now lives in London named Jumana Medlej. And she's a book artist, but also a scholar who specializes in studying the scripts and the technologies of the written word in the medieval Middle East. So her artist books reflect those interests and that kind of skill building and craft that she works on. So the book itself is called Anthropocene Book One. And she has said that she's named this book one because she knows that the damage to all of the species that are going extinct is not going to stop, and that she wants to leave space for book two because maybe the story can change. But the text itself is printed from her handwritten and from her calligraphy. It's the 6 days of creation from the book of Genesis, and it's using what is often loosely referred to as a Christian Kufi script. It's the same text that is used in the Coptic Bible today. And it's found in the earliest dated biblical manuscripts in Arabic. And as you move through the book, you see that more and more holes have been cut in the book pages. So you can kind of see it in the picture. They're little animal shaped cuts. And that each of the animal cuts is a silhouette of an animal that has gone extinct just in the artist's lifetime. So as you move through the book, less and less of the text remains legible and able to be seen. Next, please. All right. So the next pairing that I wanted to share are two books created that document and reflect on different moments of public health crises in the United States, but also these crises happened worldwide. The first one is from 1995. It's called Book of Plagues, and it's created by Margot Lovejoy. And it looks at this artist's response to the HIV/AIDS crisis in the 90s in the United States. The entire work is this very pared down palette of kind of reds and greens and blacks. And what it does as a whole is it provides what is kind of like a visual history, a graphic history of pandemics, to put the AIDS crisis into context. The whole work is kind of collage-like in that the pages have varying widths as you page through them. So some of them open up, you're able to see multiple pages at the same time. So the opening that I've chosen, you can see a medieval plague doctor on one page, and then there's a sliver of a scientific image from a microscope of a virus. then we have AIDS protesters on 2 pages, and then there's a sliver of another page that you can see. So you get these juxtapositions of different visual bits from history, from different plagues, basically. And the thing that was resonant for me as I was looking at this was how it's documenting, a public health crisis that is from, 30 some years ago, and the response was clearly shaped by politics, fear, religion, but also protest and activism. Next. And then we come to the plague that's a little more recent in our memory, and that is, this is a book called Apparently with No Surprise. It's by a German-born artist who now lives in California named Dirk Hagner. And what he does is invite us to read a poem by the 19th century New England poet Emily Dickinson through the lens of the COVID-19 lockdown in spring 2020. This is when he made this book. He was sort of fully immersed in those early months of the pandemic. He uses a floron, and if you're unfamiliar with the term floron, it's a sort of small type ornament that gets used to sometimes to space out text in early printed books, sometimes as a decorative ornament. On the slide, I've provided an example of some florons used in a 1735 book published by Ben Franklin. And then I pulled a close-up of the ornament itself. It's the floron that Dirk used is that little kind of heart-shaped thing that is used 4 times in a circle on the Ben Franklin page. But what Dirk Hagner did is he chose that floron and then sort of exploded it and made it giant and made it an element that kind of tumbles across the pages. So it shows up in different parts. And at the end of the book, on the last opening, he adds to the little leaf bit, the little red prongs that are indicative of the graphic that was created to help everyone picture what the COVID-19 virus looked like. So in addition to using the floron, something I really love about this work is how he prints some words partly what's called blind, without any ink. So words kind of show up but disappear, and you read them, but you don't see all of every word. So like, for instance, on the right-hand page, the word approving, the top of the A is gone, and the top of the ing is also sort of disappearing as it's, even though it's visible in a sort of invisible, sort of the image is bited in, but not inked, if that makes sense. That's it. Over to you.
Great. So I wanted to talk about a course, research guide that Jessica and her colleagues at the Arts Library Special Collections put together. And that the URL is on the bottom of the screen, but the course guide includes a couple things. It includes a list of events, and that'll be updated over time. But I wanted to very quickly mention some upcoming events related to the Unfolding Events exhibition. On October 21st, there's a monthly artist book hour. This is a monthly series that happens at the Haas Family Arts Library in special collections from 1:30 to 2:30. And there'll be an artist book hour devoted to books that engage with color theory. On November 20th, here at the Beinecke Library in person, we are very excited to welcome Tia Blassengame and Maureen Cummins, who are 2 of the book artists featured in Unfolding Events, and they'll be in conversation with Jessica about their book art practice. On December 8th, At Mondays at Beinecke, so same time, same station as right now. There'll be discussion with our colleague Anna Franz on artist books and teaching. On January 12th, 2026, also Mondays at Beinecke, Annalise Scar, who is another of the book artists whose book Nansen's Passport is featured in our exhibit, will be presenting about her practice, and specifically a trilogy of books that she's created in the last, I think, maybe 7 or 8 years, that address issues of climate change and loss. Um, and then finally, on February 17th, at the Artist Book Hour, this continuation of the series at the Haas Family Arts Library, Jessica and I will be presenting on artist books and engagement with history and primary sources. The other thing that's on this research guide that hopefully will be useful to some of you if you're in the New Haven area is there's a checklist for our exhibit, and then an additional works list of books that we considered for the exhibit but could not fit in, and checklists from previous exhibits that have featured artist books. So if you're interested in exploring artist books in person, tactilely, as Jessica mentioned, just the way that artists mean for you to experience them, and you happen to be in the New Haven area, these lists will hopefully provide a jumping off point for getting started on your own artist book adventure. And then finally, Jessica and I want to leave you with a teaser by showcasing one of the books on the additional works list that I just mentioned. Anne Kalmbach and Tatjana Keller, who work together as, I guess you would say, kake art. I've never heard anybody say it. And I know that the autocorrect on my word wants to make it cake art. So anyway, they work together, and they created a book called Whereas We Declare, which was printed in the Hudson Valley, and in 2018. It celebrates the 1948 United Nations Declaration of Human Rights by highlighting the integral and rich history of immigration and the contributions immigrants have made to American society over the centuries. They use quotations from the Declaration, statistics relating to immigration, original artwork, and even a facsimile of Eleanor Roosevelt's annotated copy of the preamble to the Declaration to visually and intellectually challenge those who might be interested in exploring this book. This book is in the collection of the Beinecke Library, and it can be requested for use in the Beinecke Reading Room at any time. I should also mention that on the research guide for artist books that Jessica and her colleagues created, there's a tab that goes over in great detail how to find in our catalog and request artist books for the reading room. And I'll also just highlight that all of Yale's libraries, special collections libraries, are open to anyone who can register, present a form of identification, and wants to request things and come and look at them. Thank you for joining us for this introduction to one of the Beinecke Library's two current exhibitions. Hopefully you can join next Monday when Haruko Nakamura and Yoshi Yamamoto will present an overview of their beautiful companion exhibit, Textured Stories, the Chirimen Books of Modern Japan. Jessica and I look forward to any questions you may have for us. Thank you.